Back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sensei, the digital asset Sensei. And we are back here once again to give you another boombastic video of things you should know, things you must know. And as you know from the title of this video, ladies and gentlemen, it's not mere clickbait. I've been telling you guys this, okay? XRP is dead. Now, before the XRP maxis come up here and try to kick my behind, you know, I mean, like, I just have to say, what I'm saying? How dare you challenge me with your so-called crypto kung fu? I've been telling you guys. As a matter of fact, if you remember, I was one of the first people to teach you about the XRP ledger well over 5 years ago. I was the first person to show you how to set up a trust line. I was the first person to teach you how to go on, you know, uh, different XRP aggregators and websites and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, an original member of the XRP army. I went through the entire 4-year SEC battle. Seems like that battle is back on now because Elizabeth Warren is going crazy, but that's okay. But we are here today, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about how I'm going to show you guys a couple of things. But Canton Network, I've been telling you guys, I pulled all of my guys out of XRP and they thought I was losing my mind because, we still have XRP, maxis, you know, talking about the promise of XRP 589. And XRP is going to $12,000 by next Saturday at 3:59 exactly. That's not going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Uh, XRP was a great idea. It's still a great idea. And I'm not saying it's a bad investment. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there is something that is actually delivering on what to try to do. And to make a long story short, basically when Canton Network it's been working in secret for over 10 years, but when they stepped onto the scene, when I became aware of them last November of 2025, I had heard about them previously, but they weren't out yet. And I heard Hummingbird and Bellwether, like talk about Canton like 2 years ago. But when I became aware of them, when they actually went live in November of 2025, as far as I know, I saw then that it was time to do an about face because Canton Network is actually delivering on the promise of XRP, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to show you guys a couple of things. So make sure you stay to the end of the video. It will be for your benefit. Now, before we go any further, first and foremost, I'm going to ask you guys to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button so that we can get our followers up well over 1,000 here so that we can go ahead and monetize this channel and get some really good people on here that you guys want to hear from to interview. The likes of, Arthur Hayes and, Yuval Ruse and of the Canton Network and the usual suspects, so to speak, ladies and gentlemen. So stay to the end of the video because I have some special, one of the first projects that is being supported by the Canton Network that is offering tokenized stocks and or lending and borrowing of those tokenized stocks. So let's go on over here and let's take a quick look at CoinGecko, ladies and gentlemen. And if we go here to CoinGecko, CoinGecko is a place where you can go and get some actual facts about what's going on. And depending on what site you go to will determine, what you find out in terms of the placing of certain things. Like in certain places, Canton Network is in the top 10. Some places it's in the top 20. There's some gatekeeping going on as always, you know. But if we look up here, CC is the ticker. And when we go over here and you'll start to see, basically Canton did in one day when it entered the picture what XRP has been trying to do for 14 years. Okay. They walked in the door with their own separate, because crypto, all of crypto, including Bitcoin, has 3.1 to 3.9 previous. It actually dropped but the previous statistics was 3.1 to 3.9 trillion dollars in all of crypto. Canton Network walked in with its own separate $6 million and then added another, $6 trillion, and then walked in with another 4 trillion. That they're loading on chain at the rate of $400 billion per day. Okay, and everything in the Canton Network is geared towards tokenizing assets, ladies and gentlemen. When you hear Larry Fink of BlackRock keep telling you that everything will be tokenized, he is talking about the Canton Network. We all believed it was XRP for many years because we didn't have the information. We didn't know what was being utilized or talked about in the background. Now, Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink, they probably, and I'm willing to bet that the entire time that they were talking about tokenization, we thought they were talking about XP, but I believe, I'm only speculating, of course, but it's only logical to think that they knew exactly what they were talking about because they're the ones that went to digital assets and asked them to create this for them. They told them what they need and they delivered it. A privatized, ledger of ledgers, so to speak, that they can utilize and not have their client's business all out in the open and have their trades front run by people and bots. All right. So the Canton Network is here, ladies and gentlemen. And basically, you can look here and you can find out what it's all about. But the DTCC, and all these people that specialize in repo markets and all of that, the liquidity is here. And as a matter of fact, as I told one of my guys, they don't need you to buy their token. As a matter of fact, you can't buy their token. If you want to buy their token off the market, you are not getting it firsthand. You're getting it secondhand because it is awarded to people that provide value to the network, ladies and gentlemen. So that's that. So just hold that thought for a second. And I want to show you some other things you should be looking at. You should be looking at Hyperliquid as well, ladies and gentlemen. Hyperliquid hit its all-time high today of $62. It's at $58 right now, but Hyperliquid is tearing up the charts, ladies and gentlemen, and it should be a part of your portfolio. You have entire companies that are springing up. Just as Michael Saylor is buying as much Bitcoin as he can get his hands on, there are certain companies like Hyperliquid Strategies that are digital asset treasury companies that are buying up as much Hyperliquid as they can possibly get their hands on. Okay. And ultimately, there's only 1 billion Hyperliquid tokens. So the more Hyperliquid you own, the more you kind of become a shareholder in that ecosystem, ladies and gentlemen. Another thing you should be looking at, of course, is BitTensor Tau, ladies and gentlemen. BitTensor Tau is forming the foundation for decentralized AI. We all know that AI is taking off, but of course, we cannot have AI solely in the hands of 4 or 5 guys. Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, Peter Thiel, 4 or 5 guys. We cannot have the entirety of all human knowledge and interaction in the hands of a few privatized guys that will control everything solely working with the government. So in order for us to take our place within AI, we need to have a decentralized AI where anyone can participate, anyone can build, anyone can become a validator, anybody can stake their claim and have a place within decentralized AI and businesses. It has 128 subnets that are actual businesses and providing actual AI services. Okay, and a lot of these subnets are producing are multi-billion-dollar assets within and of themselves. Now, BitTensor has the skeletal structure of Bitcoin in that its scarcity is 21 million, and every one of the subnets, the 128 subnets, also have 21 million scarcity structure. So they all have the skeletal system of Bitcoin. So it's 21 million within 21 million within 21 million within 21 and blah, 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 blah. All right. So let's get to why we are exactly here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, previously, I spoke to you guys about APYX. Okay, we went and we showed about that, and then we went over to Pendle, and I showed you guys that we actually had some things going on with Pendle. And let me just take a look here. Let's see my positions. And for some reason, my positions aren't showing up here. Oh, I know why it's not showing up. Let me just switch to the appropriate wallet here, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, if you look down here over in Pendle, I showed you this in the other video where I took the APY. I explained the whole thing to you then. I'm not going to go through the whole thing now. If you want to understand APY X is double digit yield for everyone. The first dividend backed stablecoin backed by digital asset treasury company, preferred equity, enhanced public market yield delivered on chain. I'll just do a quick synopsis for you. Of course, it's based on STRC, which gives a 11.5% yield there. But if you come over here, gives you an expected APY of 13%. So I'm not going to go all through back again because we are here to discuss some other things, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to discuss EDEL. Okay. And let me just get it here. Oh, we are here to discuss EDEL, redefining how stocks work for you, because this is one of the first that is supported by Canton Networks, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of their first projects. But before we go along, I just want to show you this, that I'm not the only person that sees this, okay? Let's take a quick look at this. Some guys on YouTube that also have a very good channel that see exactly what it is I've been telling you guys. Now, this channel here is a YouTube channel. It's a very good channel. I watch these guys from time to time. It's called The Beanstalk, and they talk about XRP 2.0, and they're, of course, talking about Canton Network. And you should actually go on over here and watch their video, ladies and gentlemen, because you will see that they are affirming what I've been telling you guys for quite some time. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for them also. But go on over here, take a look at this video, and then you can come back and view what we're doing over here as well. And yeah, we're back here to V. All right. EDEL Finance, ladies and gentlemen. EDEL Finance is doing some really special things for us and is redefining how stocks work for you. These are tokenized stocks, transforming the stock market into yield engines, ladies and gentlemen. This is lending and borrowing of your own assets. You know how everybody is always trying to get a good credit score in the traditional finance system? Well, no more, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can give yourself your own credit score by giving yourself collateralized loans. This is how you become your own bank, your own hedge fund, and your own international monetary exchange. It is all within the power of your own hands. You no longer need anybody's permission. You no longer need the hookup, okay? Because previously it wasn't about what you knew, it was about who you knew. That is no longer true because now it is back to what you know. All right. And if you know how to do this thing, then you can go and without anyone else's permission, make all of the money that you want permissionlessly. The power of choice is being returned to you, and you will no longer have to sell your time for money once you develop financial independence of being your own bank, ladies and gentlemen. EDEL is the global lending network for tokenized stocks, next generation securities, lending infrastructure, transparent, efficient, and built for scale. One decision, one app, a completely new outcome. Now, the EDEL ecosystem integrates with multiple financial networks and DeFi protocols to make tokenized stocks highly interoperable, composable, and easy to use across crypto ecosystem. So you see, when you have tokenized stocks, ladies and gentlemen, You don't have to wait for Wall Street anymore. And you see, you have the usual suspects too here with, Aerodrome, the Real World Asset Foundation, Privy, Chainlink, CalSwap, XStops, Robinhood, Base, you know. So this is what you got going on here. Designed for tokenized equities. Edel transforms stock lending faster, cheaper, and higher yields, ladies and gentlemen. So when Wall Street closes, we have our tokenized stocks that we actually hold in our wallets with self custody, ladies and gentlemen, so that we can lend them, we can borrow against them, and take that money elsewhere, in our multiple income streams, double, triple, quadruple that money, pay ourselves back whenever we like, and just have this looping strategy going on as we continue to build our treasury, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go on here and let's take a look at the app itself. Now, when you go in here into the app, you're going to see that you have the top stock movers. You got the Nasdaq, you get the S&P 500, and you've got strategy. Okay, you've got Tesla. You know, then they have another category for your highest lending APY. MicroStrategy, strategy, USDC. So now you can earn 18.30% APY on your stablecoin, ladies and gentlemen. Now we know we just went through the Clarity Act and all of that in the Senate, where the banks were, hollering and screaming that they didn't want, centralized exchanges to be able to offer yield, and they won. But I told you before, that is a problem in centralized finance. That is not a problem in decentralized finance because they cannot, how should I say, neutralize smart contracts in a decentralized way. It only applies to centralized entities, which is why DeFi is a powerhouse that they truly, can pretty much not do much about, ladies and gentlemen. So what I did is I went in here and I actually, did a little bit here. And once you do this, you go over here to your portfolio, and I'm just going to show you what that actually looks like. Now, if you take a quick look over here, you'll see that I just put just to start out, just to test the waters, I put $31 in here, and I put, this is what I supplied it with. I put $21 of USDC, and I put in $9 of STRC. And when you supply that, they give you wrapped STRCX, which you can also, this is checked, can be used as collateral. Now you can actually click this off if all you wanted to do was earn yield. But that's kind of like going to the restaurant and only having the appetizer and walking out. Like the whole purpose of going to a restaurant is for the main course. You see, so lending and borrowing is actually the main course that is your nitro that's going to propel you into greater. I have to create a word here, earnability, if you will. All right. So now, if you look up here, I want you to pay close attention to this top portion where it says My EDEL Rewards. And if we click on this, it says claimable EDEL rewards currently available in your portfolio. Now, as you start to earn rewards from that which is down below, you'll see over here APXUSD. Now, where does that come from? Obviously, that comes from over here, ladies and gentlemen. That comes back from this protocol here because they are obviously in partnership with APYX. And you see over here, I actually have $118 over here in my balance over here. You see, so when you earn APYX over here, you can actually take it over here, and you could either hold it because APYX is a non-yield bearing token. But once you deposit it, if we go in here into deposit, well, we're actually already there. We go into deposit and we lock it over here. The APYX becomes APYUSD. And once you turn it to APYUSD, that's when you go and you get the APY. All right. And This is the APY. This is the 30-day average, which is 11.8% now on a 30-day average. All right. But you can also, as I showed you previously, you can take it over to Pendle where you can earn even more on it. So if we look at this, where I take it and I move it over to Pendle, I am now earning over here. You have a principal, a locked in principal of 17.34%. You see? And I locked it in here and I have 27 days left over, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what I'm showing you. This is yield on yield on yield on yield. So over here, when you're earning APX, you could simply hold that, or you can stake it over an APY, turn it into ABYUSD, and just do the yield on yield. So you're going from here, EDEL, over to APYX, and then you can further take it over to Pendle if you chose to do so. So you have yield on yield on yield while maintaining the ability to borrow from your assets here as you earn a steady APY. Now, I want to bring your attention to one last thing before I let you guys go. If we go back here to the markets, I want you to pay special attention to this. If I was to borrow stablecoin, which is USDC, my borrow rate is 6.37% APR. But my lending rate, what I'm earning is 18.33. So just as I told you guys before, it is always something you should always look for is to try and make sure that your borrow rate is always lower than your lending rate. So if I'm earning 18.33 and I borrow at 6.37, that means my borrow rate cancels out. I'm really not even paying. It's paying for itself and I'm still earning 12%. See, if we subtract 637 from 1833, you're still earning about 12%. Okay, so you're really not even paying that borrow rate. It's factored into the equation, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I'm going to go and leave you with that, and I want you guys to pay attention to that. But one last thing I want to show you before we go is I want to show you guys stbl.com, where you can mint your own stable coins, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do you have your own stable coin, but you're also earning the yield on that stable coin, ladies and gentlemen, and you can provide looping strategy there as well. So I invite you guys. I'm not going to explain it because I explained it previously. You can go and watch that video on my channel on SBL and learn how to mint your own stable coin and earn the yield on that stable coin for as long as you like. And when you're ready to dissipate that position, you simply place your stable coins back in, thus regaining the collateral of the real world asset that you put up. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and go, and I am going to leave you with this knowledge. I hope you go forward and take action, because you remember, knowledge is not power. Only when you act on the knowledge is it power, ladies and gentlemen. So give you the power to be financially independent, to be your own bank, and to get this generational wealth, and go on ahead and get this